Do you have trouble with your children, or your parents, or your friends, or your relationships, or your marriage? Are you lonely, confused, or stressed out? 'Tis the season. Well, I have got a solution for you. Just listen to the sermon at church on Sunday, and the preacher will set things right. We'll help you face and solve all your problems. That's the way we modern North Americans fix our issues of being lonely, confused, anxious, by the rule of digging in and doing it ourselves. Are you young enough to remember the adage that was on TV? Please, Mother, I'd rather do it myself. For most of us, that's a good philosophy of life. After all, we have abilities and talents and strengths to dig ourselves out of the hole we're in. Just get up earlier. Work later. Stay focused and positive. Take a deep breath and just dive in. Sometimes all of this just catches up with us. We think we can get rid of our grief by throwing ourselves into busyness after the funeral. Stay busy. Stay focused. Get back to normal. But sometimes that's only a thin cover-up. The grief just bubbles up when we least expect it. Do you have pain? Just take a pill. In the years I lived in Washington, I was deeply interested in and involved in the political part of that city. I knew people who were also drawn to that spectrum of life. There was one person, a friend of mine, who became very concerned about the state of our country and became quite active. He said that what we needed were leaders who were bold and committed to doing the right thing. He worked for and contributed to the election of a person who promised to do that very thing. His motives were the best. A few years later, he suffered a real shock. The person he had supported so strongly turned out to be a crooked scoundrel. Imagine that. Now he asks himself how he could have been so misguided. There are times in life when we are in so deep, or the problems we face are so complex, that we just cannot see a way out. We're forced to admit that we are not so capable or resourceful as we thought we were. We just don't know what to do. We're just empty. Sometimes people are in pain because of the limits of being human. The last thing they need is to be told, especially by someone like me in a place like this, remember the solution to solving your problems, the only way to change your situation is you. It's up to you to fix it. This, however, is a prejudiced Christian statement. Deeply into the season of the Advent. It's an Advent sort of word. What hurting, suffering, and confused people need is to know who God is and what God is up to. In today's gospel, Jesus speaks of the end. The ending of an old world order and the beginning of a new. He speaks about the end of one age and the beginning of a new age. There are no exhortations here or no lists of things we must do. He's talking about something God is doing, about newness and earth-shaking change that God can work. Now, when these things begin to happen, stand up straight and raise your heads, because your redemption is near. So we, who cannot fix everything about ourselves or our world, are being redeemed. Not only is our redemption coming to us, but also God is coming to us. God who loves us also comes to redeem us, to release, to liberate, to free, to emancipate, deliver, and save us. So stand up straight. Raise your heads, because your redemption is coming close to you. So again, in today's gospel, Jesus looks at various things happening in the world and history and sees the judgment of God. We will say together the creed this morning. We will say, and he will come to judge the living and the dead. And this is a no-show of hands question. How many of us believe in divine judgment? Jesus told many judgment stories. A master gives everything he has to his servants, and then he leaves town. But always, the master returns and asks a simple question. What have you done with what you have been given? Do we speak of God's judgment in fear or joy? It's a fearful thing for me to think that there will be a day, maybe today, or tomorrow, or years from now, when I will stand before the judge, holding my life in my hands, with all that I have been given, and be made to answer, what have you done with what you have been given? In the Bible, the judge not only renders a verdict, you are guilty, the judge tries to set things right, to justify something that is out of line, and attempt to work out justice. Christians believe the judge who sits on the throne in the end has a name, a face, that one comes to judge the world. That one comes. Maybe the judge pronounces, you are guilty, and indeed we are. But then this judge says, you are guilty as you can be, and yet you are loved and redeemed, as loved and redeemed as you will ever be. Indeed, that's why Jesus can say to us, even amid predictions of final judgment, stand up straight, raise your heads, because your redemption is near. Thanks be to the redeeming God